Hello and welcome back to Walk to Cinema podcast. Today we have the third Evil Dead movie in Army of Darkness and a new guest. So today we have Measuring the Score. Hello guys.
Hello.
And I'm just gonna let you guys introduce yourselves.
Well, I'm Chris.
And I'm Leslie.
And we're Measuring the Score. I'm a film composer. I've been one for almost 20 years now. And she is a musician, but also a scientist. So she's really good at the research side of things. And we cover film scores and the films they're for. So, yeah.
And you probably can find them in every podcasting platform. And I know they're on YouTube as well.
Yeah. We have a YouTube. We got Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. So go find them, go subscribe, go do all those things. And we actually did the Evil Dead trilogy because you guys suggested we did Army of Darkness.
Yes.
So I went ahead and did the other two movies too. Sorry, go ahead. Tell us your reason.
Yeah, because you asked me, you asked us what movie, and we were actually sitting there talking about it. We're like, what movie would be good? And we was like scanning, because I don't know if of course this is an audio podcast. Behind us is like a big shelf of DVDs on the either side of the room. So I was looking around. I'm like, it'd be good, Army of Darkness. And she's like, yeah, let's do Army of Darkness.
Well, I'm glad you guys suggested it because I'd never seen any of the Evil Deads. Like, this was my first ever watch through with them, and they were a really fun time overall. So
yes, they're really quirky.
Yes, very quirky.
I don't know if quirky would work. Corny, yes. And hilarious, maybe. Well, except for the first one. The first one was trying to be serious.
Yeah. But you mentioned the DVDs, and we had to delay it a little bit because of the DVD. I had to go to Florida to grab it because we leave a lot of DVDs in her mom's house, which she doesn't like. But I forgot this one there. I got the Evil Dead 1 and 2 Blu-ray here. So we had to wait to go grab those, but we finally watched it. And I gotta say, I like this one a lot this time around. I used to think of it as my least favorite, but I kind of like this one the most this time around.
Yeah, when it came out, I remember when it came out when I was a kid, and I remember seeing, because I did never seen Evil Dead 1 and 2, and I saw Darkman because this was after Darkman. That's when Sam Raimi started kind of, getting to the more popular side of things. And Army of Darkness coming out, and I was like, that movie just looks weird. I don't want to see that. And then when I saw it as a kid, I was like, okay, well, this is just weird and goofy, but all right. I didn't really appreciate it more until I got older, and I'm like, this movie's hilarious.
Yeah, I remember renting it from I don't think it was Blockbuster, it was Movie Gallery or something at the time. And I remember we rented it, and I watched it, and I'm like, this makes no sense. I was totally confused. I'm like, what is going on here? I didn't know that they had two movies prior. I thought it was a standalone movie because of the title. And I'm like, I'm not understanding what's going on here. What is this? And then, as an adult, I go back and watch it. I'm like, this is so hilarious. What are these words he's using with these people? Dialogue is funny.
Well, like, what is it? The whole line was, oh, your shoelaces are untied. There are no shoelaces in medieval times.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I know the part where he starts talking about getting his shotgun or his boomstick.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, yeah. Well, I will see what's kind of crazy. It's because I'm going back now and watching the third season of Ash vs. Evil Dead, the series that came out after, years later after Army of Darkness. And it's like Ash is an idiot in this movie. I mean, he was an idiot in Evil Dead 2. Not so much in Evil Dead, but definitely in Evil Dead 2 and in Army of Darkness. But he's much more of a moron in the show than he is in this movie. And it's like in this movie, he had like a little bit of sense, but it's like whatever sense he had he left in the medieval times.
Yeah, I kind of did notice that progression is that he seems to get a little bit dumber each installment, because I thought in the first one he seems like a reasonably sound guy. He's pretty sweet with his girlfriend, all that, and then he kind of just becomes dumber and more of like, I don't know, I don't want to say a womanizer, but kind of more suave.
So from everything I've read, installment of Evil Dead. It was actually supposed to be Evil Dead 2. When Evil Dead 2 was written, he wanted it to happen in medieval times, and they didn't have the funding or the budget for it. So they decided to remake Evil Dead 1, but better for Evil Dead 2. And then when Evil Dead 3 rolled around, he didn't have the budget at the end because they had to do reshoots for $12 million, and they couldn't scrounge up for the money to get the reshoots done because originally it was given an NC-17 rating, and so they had to reshoot it, and they reshot the ending. And so they scrounged around, and between the three of them, they put in $1 million to reshoot that last part. So Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and I forgot the other guy's name. I'm sorry, and I didn't write it down. But they put their money together to get that remaining.
Rob Tappert.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe that was one of the other the trio, as I like to say.
Yeah, it's quite possible. Yeah. Then, yes.
Now, quick little fun fact about Evil Dead 2 before going any further on Army of Darkness. I worked with the guy who was part of the special effects team on Evil Dead 2. The camera was supposed to go through the cabin, and it's the evil force chasing Bruce Campbell around. He tried to tell, it was Sam Raimi with the camera, and Tom, the friend of mine, tried to tell Sam, he's like, hold on, the doors in hinge on this is not quite, fix this a little bit and everything else. Well, Sam was like, oh no, it's fine, let's go, come on, let's go. So he's like, all right, fine, whatever. So Sam takes off running, and he hits the door because the door didn't open, and he goes flying backwards with this camera down these flight of stairs that are on the camera. He's like, all right, let's take 5 and let's get the door fixed. I remember him telling me that story, and I was like, that's great, man. That's awesome.
There's so many stories behind all these movies because they, started as pretty much amateurs. So yeah, they're figuring it out as they go, and the stories are great. I think they kind of make the legacy of the film too.
Now, especially if you watch them with the commentary on, because especially Evil Dead 2, the commentary, it's Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and I think it's Rob Tappert, and it might be some of the special effects guys too. You can tell how much, how big of friends these guys are. They're just like talking, hanging out, and everything else. And it's not just the fans that have kept these movies going. It's these guys. They enjoy making these movies. They have a lot of fun, and you can tell, especially with Army of Darkness, you can tell they just had like a big sandbox to play with, and they just had fun and went at it. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, the Army of Darkness, I think I made a comment while we were watching it that I feel like they had some one-liners that they really wanted to use and then kind of fit the rest of the movie around those.
Yeah.
We were talking about that, especially like the scene where he goes kisses the girl and he goes, give me some sugar, baby. And you're like, what?
All right. So what because we were watching it right before this, and what gets me is that whole scene is like Ash is sitting there. He's got this white shirt on. He's being a total jerk to Sheila, and he's talking to her. And all of a sudden, when he gets mad and stomps his hand down on the table and gets up over there and grabs her and goes to kisses her, his shirt's all open, which it was not open a few minutes ago, but it's all open.
Novel,
yeah, it looks like a big romance novel, and it's like this all big swelling music. All of a sudden, he just goes and ruins it with, give me some sugar, baby. Oh,
I love Bruce. He's great. He's the only one that can do that, and we'd be laughing and not thinking it's creepy. I think it gets better as the movies go too. I think its whole personality is Army of Darkness.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't need anyone else.
I remember it used to kind of confuse me as a kid because it would always say Bruce Campbell versus Army of Darkness. I'm like, well, who's Bruce Campbell? I thought this guy's name is Ash. I'm so confused. Who's Bruce Campbell? And it's like, oh, that's the actor. I'm like, well, why do they say the actor, not Ash versus Army? I don't understand. And well, then we just found out that the original titles was originally The Medieval Dead, which I love that title. I really like that title. I kind of wish they would have kept it.
It is a better title.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a better title because it's a play on of the original. And
that's a really good title. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then it was Evil Dead 3, The Army of Darkness, and then it was like I think it was Universal. They still didn't like it and said so. They just went with Army of Darkness. And for years, I didn't know it was an Evil Dead movie. I had no. I thought it was just. I thought it was just its own thing. I remember the way I found out. This shows how old I am. I found out in a TV guide because it's showing when it was going to be coming on HBO, and it's like the third installment in the Evil Dead franchise. I'm like, what? It is? Why is it called Army of Darkness? I started freaking. It was like a total mind blowing moment.
This movie has a lot of titles. Yeah. A lot of people know it as Evil Dead 2 in other countries. In Japan, it has something to do with his supermarket. It's like supermarket killer or something like that.
Smart killer.
Yeah.
German cut too. You have a German cut of the movie. Now I hadn't, read about it. All I saw was the German cut. I'm like, that's very curious.
Yeah, we watched the theatrical cut. So
that's what we were watching.
I know there's a lot of differences on the director's cut that we have too, but we'll probably watch that one next time. And
did you guys see the original? Did you guys see the original ending?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, yeah, with the apocalypse ending. Now,
yeah, I read. We didn't
that's
watch
a director
that one.
cut, right?
I don't know, but I did read about it.
Okay, I don't want to spoil it then.
Yeah.
Let me just say this: how we were talking about how much of an Ash is an idiot. This original cut shows him how much even bigger idiot he is. So, and what's pretty cool is because I played a lot of the Evil Dead games, and in one of the games, I want to say it was Evil Dead: A Fistful of Boomstick. Yes, that is the name of the game. There was an apocalypse version of Michigan, because that's where the game takes place in Michigan, and there was an apocalypse version, and I did not know for years that it was based off of that original ending of Army of Darkness. So I thought that was kind of cool. Yes, and in case people didn't know how big of nerds we are, yes, I played just about all of the Evil Dead games.
Well, I did not know there was an alternate ending until today.
Yeah, me neither.
I've never seen it. I read about it.
Yes, so. I did too.
No, I didn't know about it either, even though I've seen this movie a bunch of times. I can't picture a different ending from the one we have. I guess I always watch the theatrical cut.
Okay, so fine. I'm the big nerds in. That's fine.
I'm not going to deny that fact. I know you.
I read that Universal wanted to change it because it was like too depressing for the overarching feel of the movie.
Yeah.
Yes. So the movie was originally NC-17, and then you got this horrible ending that they didn't like, so they had to reshoot this ending. And then reshoot some of the scenes. They're trying to get that NC-17 rating off. Raimi fought for a rated R.
They kept doing it for all the movies too, because they kept trying to put an NC-17, which is super unfair, but they didn't like them at the time.
Well, now, and if you watch the shows now compared to the movies, the shows are just
God,
it's gory and it's all that.
Especially the second season of Ash. Oh my Lord, there's so much happening in the second season. You're just like, whoa, I can't believe they put that in.
And then you go back and watch the movies and you're like, well, this is like a PG version. Out now.
Yeah,
no.
So go ahead.
I'm just going to say the one thing about the Evil Dead franchise, of course, since we are a film scoring podcast, we have to mention the composer, Joseph LaDuca, who's been with the franchise since the very beginning. He scored the very original Evil Dead. He scored Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. He even scored the show. But the one thing about this one that was a little bit different was the fact that they brought in Danny Elfman, the Batman composer, which, him and Sam Raimi became friends from Darkman, and also even had Danny Elfman's wife, Bridget Fonda, playing Ash's girlfriend in the very opening of Army of Darkness. So, Danny Elfman creates the whole March of the Dead. They use that as the opening track of the movie. But I think it was Joe LaDuca's score that really, really stood out, because when you think of the name Army of Darkness, you think of something kind of, creepy and scary. That is not what you get. You get medieval times music, full on the Irish sounding, flutes coming in there, the big orchestra, something that is completely nothing like you would think for something like this. I mean, I don't know.
It was really good.
Yeah, it really was.
It really was. And I'm gonna shout out Cheap Seat Reviews here because he called it that we're gonna be talking about the particular song.
Yep.
So if you're listening, there you go.
Yeah, Sean. Good job, buddy.
I mentioned it to Chris when we started. I'm like, I said, I started listening to the score and I hadn't watched this movie in years. Yeah, see, there you go. Moving the mic. And I was like, I hadn't seen this movie in years. And I'm like, it put me in mind of like Excalibur. Put me in mind of like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. With all
yes. The Monty Python. I had the Monty Python vibes, and like there's that other 80s movie that we've seen before called Kroll. I don't know how many people have seen that.
Oh, yes. God, it's been forever since I've seen Kroll.
Wario King.
Yes.
Sam Raimi and all of them are big fans of those movies, so I'm pretty sure that's what they were like. Hey, this is what we want.
Yeah, it's very it's very reminiscent of those.
I think it sounded better though.
Well, yeah,
honestly, even though Monty Python might be more iconic.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Now I gotta say, don't get me wrong, I love the whole score that LaDuca did, and I love the March of the Dead that Danny Elfman did. But I have to say, one of my favorite score cues is the whole scene where, because we were listening to the score before we watched the movie, and when it got to the part with the little evil ashes from the mirror, I love that whole score cue because if you listen to it by itself, it's so fun and playful to hear. And I was like, you know what? I was driving to work listening to this, and I was like, you know what? This is just really fun. I can't wait to watch this movie again.
That's a great scene overall, though. He keeps fighting himself in these movies, and I think that's the best one where he fights himself.
Actually, that's really deep if you think about it, because everybody fights themselves. In the 50s, a lot of the movies that came out in the 50s was man versus man. You got conflict, inner conflict within yourself. You can see that in some of the shows that came out in the 50s, and now you have Ash fighting the evil within, because this is the Evil Dead, and it seems like it brought the evil out of him. And he fights with himself.
I think you might be going a little bit too deep for these movies.
He fights with himself, and each time he fights with himself, it gets more goofy and more comical, each time.
Well, the whole thing with that scene right there, though, is why was he singing "London Bridge is Falling Down"? I do not understand that. I still, as a kid, I didn't understand it, and to this day, I still don't. I mean, of course, it's hilarious when you got the little guys in there, "My fair lady." I mean, it still makes me laugh, but it was like, why? Why is he singing, "London Bridge is Falling Down"? I don't understand that.
I agree. There's some parts about these movies I'm just like, why did they? What's the point of this part? Or
it's to laugh. You don't need a point.
That's right.
You just need to have fun.
Well, I like the whole scene with the skeleton hands. With the skeleton hands poking them in the eye. You can tell they're big fans of Three Stooges. So, I mean, that is straight up Three Stooges humor right there.
Yes, there's a lot of Easter eggs in this movie. So the scene where he's telling him the words to say when he gets to Necronomicon, that was actually a Star Wars scene.
No.
Star Trek.
No, it was the day the Earth. Oh yeah, the location.
The location.
Star Trek.
Yeah, I said Star Wars. I slip up and do that.
Well, you did it during our start. Yeah. You've made so many fans of ours just like cringe.
And I'm really a Star Wars fan, and I know the difference. I like Star Trek too, but
oh my God, I believe William Shatner's going to show up and actually hurt you for that one.
But it goes back to the original Star Trek. There was a scene in that canyon that was filmed, or an episode, and that's where it was filmed at. And also, I think it was Batman, the Bat Cave. That canyon there. It was filmed there. So, I mean, there's little Easter eggs throughout the whole movie.
Wait, really? The Batcave?
Yeah.
From the 89 Batman?
No. 60s.
The 60s
yeah,
Batman?
1960s. Adam West Batman.
Okay, it's really cool how much Sam Raimi really loves movies.
Oh, man.
He's just a nerd like us, I guess. I mean,
it's amazing.
Well, it was one of the things that Bruce Campbell told Tobey Maguire on the set of one of the Spider-Man films. He told him, he said, now, Sam really likes to hurt his actors. Now, you can tell that from the amount of abuse Bruce Campbell took on this movie right here.
Yeah, I was reading about
There's actually an outtake on Spider-Man 2 where you see Toby like bent down, and he's getting hit by all of the book bags. And there's one in particular that hits him, and the strap gets hung in his face. It was the one that Sam Raimi hit him with. It like hit him even harder.
Yeah. I read that Sam Raimi just tried his hardest at making the most complicated choreography for Bruce Campbell that he could come up with.
I read that also, and they said that he was trying to use the system and just frustrated because he wasn't fighting things that were there. Because that was all, there he goes again. That was all added. So I saw that today also. I'm like, that's funny. It's like he was trying to make it complicated for him. And he told the guy, he's like, yeah, make him suffer.
That's just terrible.
Kind of. That's what you do to your friends, though. You try to make life more complicated.
Yeah, when you've been friends since high school, you can beat each other. It's fine. That's what everyone does.
Well,
apparently Bruce Campbell, likes it because he keeps coming back.
Exactly.
I think he likes the character more than anything. He's made Ash his own character, so
yeah,
that's a character. That's his baby.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on his website you can have him like officiate certain events as Ash, and
that'd be funny.
Yeah.
I've said this, and I told him, I don't know if you remember, that I really wanted Bruce Campbell to be at our wedding, but he specifically does not do weddings. Which,
but it would be so funny.
That's unfortunate because I would have paid anything. But he wasn't there. We got someone else to officiate.
That'd be so funny.
That would have been great. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that.
Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Something.
It's. I'm never gonna leave it down either. Like, it's always gonna be stuck with me that he didn't want to marry us.
He's so sad.
But he's I think I remember looking, he's actually quite affordable, like in terms of what you would think a celebrity would charge to show up at an event.
I don't know how much they charge.
I don't remember. I just remember thinking normal. It was doable. Like a lot of money, but doable.
Now there was a film I scored, and there was like a really small scene, a small role. They talked to Bruce Campbell. They tried to get him on, and he said, "Guys, look, spend your money on the special effects. Don't try to hire me." He said, "People will show up just to see me. Spend your money on the special effects. Trust me, it'll be worth it in the end." I don't know. I think it would have been better if Bruce Campbell was.
It would have been.
It's always better when Bruce Campbell is in it.
Exactly.
That's why we're gonna watch Sky High.
Yeah,
it's the only reason we're gonna watch Sky High is Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, that's the movie that I kind of grew up on.
You like that movie, don't you?
In that movie?
Yeah, he's Coach Boomer, the Sonic Boom.
Go back and watch it.
Yeah, I just learned that a couple of weeks ago.
You were too young to know who he was.
Yeah, I was kind of too young to know who he was.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie, but I'm gonna have to go back then and watch it.
Exactly. That's the only reason I'm watching it with her, because I would never watch it.
He's not in it very much, but
I remember watching it one day. I was bored and I was in college. I'm like, what is this movie? And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cute movie. But it was been years ago. I've been out of school since 2006. So.
See, I didn't watch it, and then you got me to watch it. And you was like, oh, it's got Kurt Russell in it. Oh, it's got this in it. It's kind of, I'm like, I don't want to watch this crap. And I watch it, and I'm like, you know what? This is actually not bad. I mean, it's not a terrible movie.
Yeah, it's not. It's not the worst thing Disney's ever put out. So
we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
He sounds very, very.
Listen to me, man. Listen to me. It's not terrible.
Right.
It's not the greatest.
I'm not sold yet, but we'll see. It has Kurt Russell and Bruce Campbell, so
yeah, there you go.
Can't be the worst.
Yeah, exactly. I think it has Dave Foley in it too from Kids in the Hall. I think Dave Foley's in there.
It's been years.
I can't remember.
I know it's got Stephen Strait in it.
Stephen Strait.
Yeah, it has. I can never remember her name, but it was John Travolta's wife.
Kelly Preston.
Kelly Preston. She's also in it. So
sorry, I'm like a walking IMDb. I can remember things like that off that. I mean,
you guys get so excited about Sky High, we forgot about Army of Darkness.
Well, we were kind of on topic. It was still Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
It's the Bruce Campbell show. We could do a show just about him. Probably.
Yeah, that'd be the podcast. Yeah, exactly. The Campbell cast.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Campbell all the time.
Oh man, we could go through so many Bruce Campbell movies. Come on, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
My uncle used to love that show, and he watched it all the time.
And that was also
Briscoe County's on. I gotta go watch it.
And that was also Sam Raimi and Rob Tapert did that. Yep.
I like Bubba Hotep personally.
Oh, that was great.
That'd be episode number 1.
Oh man, Bubba Hotep was great. I love that.
I've never seen it.
He was so convincing as Elvis.
Was he?
Yeah. Bruce Campbell. All right, for the people who do not know what Bubba Hotep is, Bruce Campbell is Elvis, and that's all you need to know.
Yes. And there's a mummy, and there's
Yep. It
kind of fits in the Evil Dead type comedy horror.
Yeah, it's definitely got that type. It's a horror comedy, but it's from the director of Phantasm.
Oh,
so yeah,
Phantasm.
Yeah, that was a movie there.
My parents talked about that one. Like, oh yeah, that was scary back in the day. And now this looks so corny.
Well, speaking of corny, what was it you pointed out when we were watching Army of the Darkness? He's like, "Oh, that castle looks fake." That was the first thing. That was the first thing that comes out of her mouth. Oh, that castle looks fake. Well, yeah. There's castle. Yeah, I know.
And then it shows the Necronomicon, open, and you see like the fiery lake or something.
Oh, that's from the second one.
And you're just like, yeah, granted, I know these didn't age well because it wasn't meant to age well, but it's still, it just looks kind of corny to me.
I disagree. I think they age perfectly.
Look,
I think the corniest the better.
Yeah, exactly.
They aged better than The Mummy. When we did the Mummy episode and we watched the Mummy, the special effects were horrible.
CGI is not held up well for that movie.
Not for that movie.
It's still a good movie, but the special effects, I would take Army of Darkness special effects over The Mummy.
Anything practical. I love practical effects. I've talked about that before. Any movie had practical effects. It normally holds up the test of time because it's practical. They physically do it. And then when you start adding our computers advance so fast, you go back and look at some of those movies that you thought were cool back in the day. You're like, oh god, this is horrible.
Well, like with Army of Darkness, with the special effects, like with the whole ending sequence, where it's the Army of Darkness against all the skeletons and everything else, that is straight up like Ray Harryhausen special effect. The original Clash of the Titans.
Clash of the Titans.
Jason versus Jason and the Argonauts. I mean, it's that type of special effects. Well, it's stop motion. The stop motion.
Yeah, the stop motion.
Yeah, stop motion with a rear projector. So it's basically they filmed it like with Bruce Campbell fighting stuff and everything else, and then they would go back with the stop motion and put it in place where look. I'm holding my hands up like people can actually see what I'm doing. They would put the stop motion in place of where Bruce Campbell would interact with it. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
We talk with our hands. We're from the South.
Oh, me too. I do this all the time.
I'm not Southern.
Yeah, he's the only non-Southerner.
I'm getting used to Southern life.
Yeah.
It will take over. Trust me.
It's not too bad. I lived in Germany for a while, and I come back to the South. It's not too bad. There he goes again.
For the people that don't know, I'm constantly adjusting her microphone toward her face. She has this thing where she slowly drips away from the microphone, and I have to constantly move the mic. I mean, it happens, all the time. And when we record on our podcast, I'm on the other side of the table, so I'm constantly, motioning her to move over toward the mic. I'll start, making little hand gestures, like, "Come on, get closer to the microphone," and she'll say, "Oh, sorry." And it's like, don't make it known. Just keep talking.
You're doing a great job at not making it known.
I'm so special. So what are y'all's favorite part of the movie?
That's hard. I'd like every part up until the actual Army of Darkness shows up. I think that's when it goes a little down for me personally.
Really?
I like the comedy before it.
Well, okay. I mean, I can see that, but I mean, come on, you got the whole scene with the death coaster, man, the car.
That one's a good one.
There's good scenes, but I don't know.
It's favorite. They're good, but it's not his favorite.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, man. I was on the page. I was on the same boat with you, man, and you lost me. I mean, that's the whole ending of the movie. That was great.
I like the ending, the S Smart.
Oh,
when they come back, I like that part. So.
Oh, when Sam Raimi's when Ted Raimi shows up. Yeah, Sam Raimi's brother Ted shows up. He like shows up in all of them except for the original. I don't think he was in the original. No, he was. Yeah, he was like one of the rednecks in the very original. Yeah, sorry.
So your favorite part?
Katie?
I don't know. I guess I do like the scene where they just have like when he's teaching them how to fight the army of darkness, where they're making gunpowder and like the old wise man has it near the flame and he has to be like, no, don't do that.
I also like the close-ups when he's making his hand. And they do random close-ups on things. I think that's hilarious.
Oh yeah, and he's like groovy.
Yeah.
Right, so on Evil Dead 2, sorry, I keep going back to Evil Dead, to the other Evil Dead.
His favorite one.
Yeah, I like Evil Dead 2. It's a toss-up between Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. I mean, because I love both of them. I've seen both of them so many times. It's, now the part where Bruce Campbell goes into the work shed to start making the chain, the iconic chainsaw hand, and he says work shed. If I'm not mistaken, it wasn't Bruce Campbell, it was somebody else that said that. So when Kurt Russell worked with Bruce Campbell on Escape from LA, Kurt Russell asked him, he said, "Hey, Bruce, do me a favor, say work shed."
I saw that too. That was great.
I was like, that's great, man. I love that.
I remember you mentioned when he said work shed. Like you found that hilarious.
Yeah, because it's just so
different.
Like,
well, yeah, it's like it's like here you have Ash talking to his work shed. It's like it's like the TBS, cutout version. Because it's like instead of the Yippee-Ki-Yay mother, it's Yippee-Ki-Yay Mr. Falcon. And it would say like Yippee-Ki-Yay Mr. Falcon. No, that's not Bruce Willis.
TV movie when they would cut him for the TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah, I think Evil Dead 2 is probably my favorite in the series. I think it's a perfect balance of kind of seriousness and goofiness, which is what I liked. I feel like Army of Darkness pretty much went full on goofy.
Oh yeah.
If the people listening like Evil Dead 2 better, we have the whole episode out. They can check that one out. That's my plug.
But I think that the goofiness in Army of Darkness helped it move along, and it helped pace the movie where it didn't drag, it didn't seem too long, it didn't seem too short. I think that it helped in that respect, because there are some movies where you sit down and then you're like, God, I wish this would end already. Why is this movie this keeps droning on and on? It's like they should have ended it 20 minutes ago. But I think that in this instance it helps, and it helps tell the story. And then, now, of course, then we didn't have the shows, but now we have the shows. And then you can see that there is a definite decay in character between Bruce Campbell in medieval times and Bruce Campbell, in the show. Something's happened to him over the years. So I think that I like the comedy also in the third one.
So, Katie, you said you never watched any of the Evil Dead films. And since this is the conclusion of your Evil Dead, saga of just the films, what did you think?
Overall, I did enjoy it. I don't know if I loved the ending of Army of Darkness, because I just feel kind of, I don't know if I would call it bummed out about it, or like, I don't know. It just didn't feel like it fit the overarching thing, like the overarching like story. Yeah. But maybe I'm like looking too much into it, because I do think that if you just look at Army of Darkness, if you just thought about it as its own thing, I think I would have liked it more, instead of like trying to piece it in with the other two, I guess.
Yeah. But in our show we give it a score, so you could score it so people have a better understanding, like a numerical understanding, I guess.
I was between a 6 and a 7 on my arbitrary out of 10 score.
So. That's your final. You're not going to commit.
No.
Okay.
I can't commit yet.
I give it a 7, even though I said I like it better than the second one this time around. I still rated it lower. I think the second one is just so much more iconic to me personally. And I think to movies in general, people focus on the second one, even though this is also a great one. And I don't know if you guys, like giving numbers to movies, but feel free to do it if you do.
Leslie, I'm gonna let you go first for this one out of 10.
Really? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
It's all on you. It's all writing on you, Leslie. This is our fans.
All arbitrary.
Yeah. They're just numbers.
Our fans are now keep in mind, our fans are not gonna like you if you come up with a bad score.
I'm gonna poke you in the eye, guys. So I was the opposite. I watched Army of Darkness first when I was a kid. And then years later, after I met him, he's the one that showed me the first two Evil Dead. So because of that, for the longest time, I thought it was a standalone movie. So the ending to me made sense because that was the only movie that I knew. And then going back at it, there's a nostalgia there because I remember those days you get to Pizza Hut pizza and then you have your free Pepsi and then you get to rental movie, Oh, there he goes again. But, I would give it a 7.5, 8, because I think it's more nostalgia for me for that part. It just brings back memories of my childhood watching it. As far as the cinematic, elements to it, it kind of is rudimentary, especially they spent $11.5 million on the movie at the time, which is what they spent on it. So, I would say a solid 7.
All right. So for me, I do remember seeing Evil Dead 2 when I was a kid. I remember not knowing what, much about it and not remembering much about it before going into Army of Darkness. Because like I just said, I didn't know that Army of Darkness was part of that franchise. So for the longest time, I thought Army of Darkness was its own thing. So I was like you. I was like, okay, I love the ending and everything else. And then when I found out that it was a part of that franchise, I went back and rewatched the first one because I had never seen it up until, at that point. And I saw the first one, I saw the second one, then I saw Army of Darkness. And I'm kind of like you, Katie. The ending was just a little like, it was great. I love the ending. I love how it happens. But in the context of the full storyline, it's like, okay. But now, as far as rating, I'm gonna have to give it an 8 because no matter how many times I've seen this movie, how many times I've sat back and I can quote it, every day. I still laugh at it as soon as the movie starts up because Ash is such an idiot. I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, the whole scene where he's in the windmill barn area and he, the stuff's hitting the door and he's and then it just pulls back and there's nothing happening. He's still screaming. I'd laugh every time. It's so stupid, but it's funny. And they're really stupid things. And I mean, it's one of those things. I have to pause it. I have to crack up and then continue to watch the movie. And the music, like we're talking about, is fantastic. Even going back and listening to it on its own.
Oh, I love the score.
I mean, it was amazing. It really was. And it, even though Danny Elfman came in and just worked on that one piece, what he did was so amazing and it was so iconic and it really brought a lot to the film. So yeah, I got to go with an 8. Now, we weren't on for the other Evil Dead episodes with you guys. So, but yeah, out of a 10, I'm sticking with an 8. That was great.
He still likes it.
I still like it.
After all these years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see if I had watched it sooner, like earlier in childhood, I probably would, have that nostalgic feeling, and I probably.
Yeah, I feel like everyone we talked to did watch them earlier. I guess we're just too young to,
Now, did you see the remake, G?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Now the remake is it doesn't have Ash, it doesn't have the character, and the comedy element is gone out the window. It's all horror. It is very gory. To me, it kind of makes me think of the original Evil Dead, where how gory it was and everything else. And the remake is pretty. Now there is a new Evil Dead coming out.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming on HBO Max. It's called Evil Dead Rise. Bruce Campbell is like super excited about it. Again, it has another female. What is it? Antagonist? Is that the right term?
Antagonist is something that he fights against.
Okay, no, protagonist then. Sorry.
Protagonist is making.
I'm also an idiot.
No, this is literary term.
Yeah. So yeah, it has I think it's like two sisters are having to fight the evil in a skyscraper. So Yeah, that's going to be different.
Sounds weird.
Definitely be on the lookout for it then.
Yeah. You have anything else?
No, well, I think we're good.
No?
I mean,
good?
we've covered so many one-liners. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
So don't forget to go listen to Measuring the Score if you like music or just movies in general. They have a great show. And go listen to the other Evil Dead episodes. And we'll see you next week.